Hello again, this is Alan Adams. I'm starting, as you can see, I've got a spreadsheet all ready to go here for you. I'm starting Quiz 3 series of videos for badge number 3, the advanced level of the Dean College badge. So I'll be doing 3, possibly 4 more, because I do have a lot of territory to cover, but most of what you need to know for the badging in Excel, in the opinion of our committee, has been covered. So what I'm doing is I'm wrapping up everything with a series of very advanced functions and shortcuts that every Excel user needs to know to make his or her life a little easier, regardless of what it is you're doing. More on that in a moment. So in the remaining videos, I'm going to focus on functions and shortcuts. Okay? Now you'll notice that I've got raw data here. One thing that you've likely noticed throughout all our video series is that Excel not only provides great power over numbers, calculations, data management, as you've seen in all of our quizzes so far, but it also often gives you several ways to do the same thing. So just as I've chosen my own favorite methods of shortcuts, you might choose differently. So when I conclude this series, at the end I want to give you several of those shortcuts to emphasize the alternatives that are available to you. So before we get into the shortcuts, I want to spend the first several minutes of our upcoming videos talking about functions. Now, what is a function? You've already seen several of them. Okay, now here's what I want you to think of when we talk about a function. I want you to think of the many things we can do in all of these wonderful cells that Excel gives us. I want you to think of a function as, let's call it a result or some type of an operation. Okay? That means we'll do something either mathematically or textually or informationally on all of the vast types of information that you can have within a spreadsheet, a very large spreadsheet of data. So that's what a function is. You've already seen several of those functions. Okay? Let's go and look at a few. Look here in column J. Look right here, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we've learned and used so far in our late videos in badge 1 and some of the videos in badge 2. Okay, we learned how to sum things. We learned how to use future value and present value if you're into finance and accounting. If you're into stat or data management, we learned how to count. We did square roots mathematically. We did averages. We learned that there were certain date functions. Okay, we can perform operations on the date, and we'll focus on more of those wonderful shortcuts later. And functions, not just shortcuts. We learned how to do things with minimums and maximums, and we got fancy and used standard deviations. We looked up data in data tables to make sure it met conditions that we gave our data. In other words, I want you to find everybody whose name begins with the letter A and who was born between 1960 and 1970. That's what that means. And we learned about logical operators, sometimes called Boolean operators, B-O-O-L-E-A-N, such as and, if, or, and not. Okay, so we played with a few of those. As you can see, there were only about 10 or 11 of them here. And now we're going to expand on that to make it useful from a business point of view. So that's what a function does. Now, when you perform a function, by the way, functions, how many of them are there? I don't know. But in the last version of Excel, there were dozens upon dozens, I dare say hundreds of them. But whenever you go into Excel to use it for the untapped power that it has, and you start learning about functions, you are going to focus on the ones that are the most meaningful to you. Okay? Generally speaking, they're broken down by authors, writers, engineers into about 8, 9, or 10 types. So unless you become an Excel instructor or a spreadsheet fanatic, you're going to find that many of them don't really have much value to you, like myself. That's what I've found. I'm a business person. So what do I focus on, ladies and gentlemen? I focus on mathematics, sorting, conditions like we've covered in our tutorials, the appearance of our cells and the data that's in them so we can produce really slick and nice reports, dates, formatting, things like that. Okay, now that's me. Now if you're an engineer, if you're going to go into engineering, there are lists of functions, on the other hand, that I don't use that might make your life easier. If you're going to be a mathematician, a statistician, or an actuary, there are others. The way these functions are grouped by authors, is really a matter of author's opinion. So I'm going to try to select a few of the most important ones from the categories that I think you will encounter in the world of business, since this is a business-oriented set of tutorials and videos for you. However, saying that, I encourage you to dabble around in all of the vast powers that Excel brings you, okay? To really sample the power of Excel. And I also want to remind you that Microsoft engineers are constantly dabbling in how to bring you more and improved functions continuously. I'm using Mac version 15.32 from the year 2017, so the list of new functions probably for another new release of Excel has grown already. All right, now you'll remember that we build a function into an Excel spreadsheet. Let's get back down here again, okay? We build a function, a result that we want Excel to achieve for us, or an operation we want it to perform, by defining a formula. I want you to think of a formula as being a sentence. Let's say to achieve that result. The function is what you want to achieve. The formula is the sentence that you have to explain to Excel in order to get that function achieved for you. Okay? Just like in English, in the English language, you would construct a sentence using certain rules in order to communicate an idea to a listener. Okay, now to achieve a function, we have to use a formula, a sentence, to do so, and that formula has to follow rules. An English sentence has to follow rules. A noun usually has to be provided. A verb, an action word, has to be provided. Now, if you want to make the noun fancier, you modify it with adjectives. If you want to make a verb fancier, you modify it with adverbs. Okay, all of those rules we call syntax in studies of English. We use the same thing here, up here, in constructing formulas. Now, the beautiful part is Excel, as complicated as functions and formulas can look to someone who hasn't dealt with them extensively, now, Excel is going to do its best to explain the rules to you as you go. And we'll look at some of those. It gives you a couple of tools to do so. Interactive tools just as you're entering data in cells, and a nifty little toolbox that we'll get to in a moment. Bear with me, please. Okay, so I want to put down here syntax. Okay, now those are the rules of that, let's call it formula sentence. Sentence, let me spell it correctly too. All right, think of that as the construction. Once again, Excel is not going to throw you under the bus. Excel is going to give you guidelines. Once you tell it what a function you're trying to achieve, it's going to give you guidelines as to how to get there. Okay, that's the beautiful part. All right. Let me see, what do we want to do next? Again, I'm going to select from the categories that I think are the most business appropriate. And we've already discussed how we're going to tell Excel what to do for you. Now, what I want to do is I want to bring you folks back up to the ribbon. I'm going to conduct a real quick review of the functions and formulas we've discussed so far. These items over here in column J. Okay? So, what I've done is I've taken some data that we've used before. You've seen this before. We've performed quizzes and operations on this data before. So let's do it all again. Now back in the ribbon up here, you know the ribbon is this, on my screen up here, it's in green. And right below it, you see all of these tabs: Home, Insert, Page Layout, Formulas, Data. Okay, all of this and everything that each tab shows you is called collectively the ribbon. Okay, right now I'm on Home. All right, so you'll notice that there's a Formula tab way over here in this version of Excel. Now remember, you might see a different version of Excel, but a similar tab will be there. Okay, in my case, I'm going to click on Formulas. Now what's the first thing you see over here on the far left, ladies and gentlemen, under the Formula tab in the ribbon? You see that FX, that insert function. If you've ever studied calculus, let's not go there, then you know that a function is something that is going to be defined to perform something on a whole list of raw items, raw data, variables, okay? All right, let's make it a lot easier and more practical. Insert function. Now I'm going to click on that and watch what happens. Bam. All right. Way on the right. I've shown you this once before. It's called the Formula Builder. This little toolbox on the far right is going to be very handy for you in guiding you through the rules, the syntax, the formulas that you use to make the functions work properly for you. Okay? So, let me see. We'll get back to the Formula Builder in a moment. Now, let's look back at the ribbon again, okay? After insert function, we see AutoSum. Now, here, 1, 2, 3, you see a whole bunch of little colored boxes on my ribbon. Those are all of the, not all, I'm sorry, they are some of the groupings of functions that the engineers have tried to create for you to go to the ones that mean the most to you. If you are a financial person, you'd click on the financial one, the green one that you see there, the fourth one from the left. Okay, now if you click on that, you're going to see a drop down. Look at that. Look at that. I'm a financial person. I've been a financial person for 40 years and I don't understand some of these, okay? But every one of them represents a shortcut in the world of accounting or finance, and there are many more that I think we'll see in the future, okay? We are going to focus on the ones, obviously, that are the easiest and most meaningful initially. Feel free to explore. We always explore and experiment when we're dealing with learning Excel, okay? The 3 E's, Excel, experiment, okay? And, well, there's another one, experience, okay? But make sure that you try these, explore, okay? So we're up to 4 E's right now. So make sure that you look at all of these and play with them, okay? You can't hurt anything. Please remember that. All right, now let's turn off that Excel drop-down, okay? I just click out of it. And remember, that's just one type. And now we're going to get back to building a formula. Now notice that the builder tells me over here, way on the far right, the Formula Builder, notice that it tells me the ones I've used most recently. In constructing this lesson, I played with max, count, sum. Okay, some of these look familiar to you. All right, that's just for your convenience. The real value of the Formula Builder is that it's going to help you through the form, the syntax of the formula you're trying to create to achieve a certain function. Okay? You want to get the desired result. Let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, we're business persons here, and we're trying to get to results, and we're trying to get there quickly as possible, without errors, and without math errors. Remember, after 40 years in business, I still make math errors. Excel helps you remove many of those because it will do the lifting for you. Let's start by looking over here at sum, okay? You remember sum, we dealt with it extensively. Sum simply means, I'll click on sum over here in the Formula Builder, friends. All right, there are a couple of syntax guidelines. Now, Excel doesn't always make it the easiest thing to read, but here's what that drop-down in the Formula Builder is telling you. When you tell Excel that you want to sum something, it's going to expect a range. Sum what? You don't sum one number, do you? No, you sum several numbers. So you can sum numbers like take this one, this one, this one, and this one, add them together, okay? Or if you're looking at a huge list of numbers, like a whole range of things, look in column G, salary, way up here, okay? You can tell it to sum a certain range of that data. You don't want to type in every item. You don't want to say add this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Oh, no, that would get tedious. So sum allows you to either total up specific selections, as we learned before, or add up a whole range of data. Now, let's review. You can either enter an equal sign or a plus sign, okay, and type in the word sum. Oh, look, right away. Sum appears. It's going to give you guidelines if you wish. You've already got those guidelines in the Formula Builder, but you can repeat them here as well. All right, but I already know what I'm doing, and so do you, because we've done this before. If you've gotten to this level in our videos, we open parens. Within those parens, now here's the formula. This is where the formula comes in. And now that formula expects syntax. It expects you to express yourself to Excel in a certain fashion. So I have to tell it, what do I want to sum? Excel needs to know what I want to sum. Okay, let's say I want to take a couple of values. I can type them in. Let's take the first salary you see in column G. It's G6. I can type that in. Now, I don't type things in. What I do is I come over here and I scroll up and take that cell. Then I put in a comma. That's known as a delimiter, by the way. Something that separates values. Let's say I want to add that one. And I'll type another comma. And let's say I want to add that one. I close my parens and I hit enter. And the total of those three values is $157,000. Okay? You could put as many there as you want, up to, according to Excel and the Formula Builder guidelines, 255. Now, okay, you can do better than that. So I'm going to try to cancel that out. There it is. I'm going to type in again, this time without putting commas, typing value after value after value. Ooh, what a pain that is. I'm going to hit an equal sign or a plus sign. I'm going to type in sum, my function name. I'm going to type in the formula using proper syntax. I'm going to use the mouse this time, friends. I'm going to scroll over and I'm going to say total everything through in the salary column from line 6 to line 14. I'm holding my left button down and scrolling. I release. Okay. I close my parens. I hit enter and bam. Everything in those columns totals up to $571,000. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no better example to a business person like me of the efficacy, that's a lovely word, efficacy, of the ease of making something happen. Think of it as a kind of synonym of efficiency, of taking a whole range and adding it together, and now I delete out of it because this is just an example. Okay? So that is one example that we've covered already. By the way, every time we do something here, I want you to watch this formula builder over here to your far right. Okay? All right, let's try two others. Let's try count, okay? We learned to count before, so this is just a review. I'm going to hit the equal sign. I'm going to type count, open my parens. I want to count how many items go from, now which column H? Column G. We'll stick with column G. From here to here, okay? I close my parens. It's just going to give me how many items I've counted. 18. Okay? Remember to watch the formula builder. It's going to tell us little things along the way to make our lives easier. I delete 18. And I'm finally going to use max, okay? I hit equal sign. As you remember, max will pick the highest value in a range. Now I'm going to highlight my range. Using my mouse, left click and drag. I start at the top, cell G6. I'm going to go down to about here, G23. I'm going to close my parens. Now wait, let's watch and see what we should expect. What's the highest value? I see on line 8, 95,000. 95,000 looks like about the highest number in that range. If I did this right, max, picking the highest value, should return $95,000. There it is. Okay, that's a review, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? All right. So now I am just about out of time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close this first video, and when we begin the next video in this series, I am going to start, here's my timer as a matter of fact. When we start the next video in the series, I'm going to start getting into the fancier functions, because up until now this has been a review and I want to show you some of the powers that Excel will really give you. So I'm going to close this now. I'll be back to you shortly. Bye-bye.